Our spotlight today is on the world of television, starting with a special report on a new TV movie which walks a very thin line. Here to tell us about it is Scott Osborne.
Thanks, Ron. For years now, television journalists have tried to keep news and entertainment separate. Each had its own domain, and the public had a pretty good idea of which was which. But more and more frequently now, the two have been thrown together, and broadcast journalists are not happy about it. This continuing controversy over the shotgun marriage between news and entertainment is about to boil over when a made-for-TV movie called Special Bulletin airs on March 20th on NBC. The mixing of news techniques with drama is part of a controversy that goes way back to the early days of radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt our program of dance music to bring you a special bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News.
When the novel War of the Worlds was adapted for radio in 1938, recreated in these scenes from The Night That Panicked America, Orson Welles used radio news techniques to tell the story of how Martians were invading the United States. An unsuspecting public panicked because people had learned to trust such radio news bulletins. They were used to hearing unbelievable news reports on the radio all the time.
This is Lowell Thomas in New York. He made it. Charles A. Lindbergh, Lucky Lindy as they call
him. It's crashing terrible. Oh my, get out of the way, please.
So it wasn't surprising that people listening believed what they heard.
No, there's no need to call the police. It's just a play.
The thin line between what is real and what isn't was crossed.
They all act like the world is coming to an end. What the hell are they doing up there?
Now, in 1983, producers of a made-for-TV movie called Special Bulletin are using television news techniques to give an eerie reality to their piece of fiction.
The Special Bulletin is basically the dramatic recreation of a fictitious event presented as if it were being covered by a live network news team. The event happens to be the threat of terrorists to explode a nuclear bomb in Charleston, South Carolina.
Continue to move slowly toward the inside of the building, please.
Coming through.
Special Bulletin is an attempt to replicate the experience of watching the live news coverage of a crisis. And it's the way we watch history these days. We don't see it in the newspaper. We see it on television. We watch it happen. We see the mistakes. We watch the reporters struggling to find out what's going on.
Oh, cut it!
I can always remember someone calling on the phone and saying, quick, turn on the TV set, something's happening. It seemed as if my entire childhood, in fact all of our childhoods, was punctuated by these occasions of drama through news.
Okay, we got it.
We're shooting this, trying to make everything real. If at the end of the take everybody goes, boy, was that real, then we know we did it.
Real-life journalists aren't too happy about a TV work of fiction using TV news credibility to get its point across.
One of the reasons perhaps they use these techniques is because there seems to be a surge of interest in news. It is a way of generating excitement. It will, I'm sure, have that kind of slightly gritty look that television news has.
Susan, as you can see...
I think the big danger in using those techniques is the misrepresentation of journalists. It's kind of the news smoothed out in appearance. And I think that's very, very dangerous, very bad for us.
I think the danger in projects like this is they tend to confuse in the public's minds the difference between truth and falsity, what's real and what's unreal.
You gotta get out of your truck!
It's very important that the credibility of news be maintained. We have enough criticism as it is, and I think there are plenty of other ways to do it. Why move into our area where our credibility is the only thing we've got going for us?
Needs to be. Ask him questions. Come on, ask him. Come on, Senator. Come on, ask him, Senator, come on.
The producers of Special Bulletin want to make sure that when the film airs on March 20th on NBC, no one thinks their story is really happening. They don't want another War of the Worlds.
We do not have that intention. It would upset me greatly, greatly to fool people. We will have any disclaimer, we will talk to anyone, we will publicize it in any way possible so that people will not believe it's actually happening. That's not our intent, and we'll go to any length to avoid it.
RBS News will stay with the story as it develops.
Maybe there really isn't any reason to worry. Many who work in television claim the viewer can easily distinguish between reality and fiction. We all know when something is real or fake. It really isn't that hard to tell. Or is it?
And cut.
We'll see just how real Special Bulletin looks when compared to the real thing, and what that means to all of us when part 2 of our special report continues this weekend on Entertainment This Week.
There's a new television movie that walks a very thin line and is causing a controversy. Here to tell us about it in part 2 of our special report is Scott Osborne. Scott?
Thanks, Steve. A new made-for-TV movie called Special Bulletin is supposed to look as if a real TV network news team is covering live the story of anti-nuclear terrorists trying to blow up Charleston, South Carolina. Now, Special Bulletin, which airs this month, looks so much like the real thing that viewers used to watching real terrorists on television just might think it is the real thing.
The white van carrying an anti-nuclear weapons sign had driven up to the base of the Washington Monument about 9:30 this morning.
This TV report about a 66-year-old anti-nuclear demonstrator threatening to blow up the Washington Monument is real. The siege lasted 10 hours and was covered live by local and network television.
Excuse me, Susan, there are so many walkie-talkies around here, it's difficult to hear.
This TV report on the anti-nuclear terrorists threatening to blow up Charleston, South Carolina is not real. It's part of a made-for-TV movie called Special Bulletin that will air March 20th on NBC.
Let's make this clear. We don't know anything about this group. We have no evidence that their threat is real. There have been several hoaxes of this kind in recent years.
Well, nevertheless, they claim to have a nuclear bomb on board, and they're threatening to explode it by 6 o'clock tomorrow evening if their demands are not met.
Special Bulletin puts a spotlight on a side of television news that bothers the film's producers as well as professional journalists. When does live television coverage go beyond merely showing the public a legitimate news event to exploitation of that news event?
The madness ends here.
If people can see the ways in which events are exploited by news, television news, for the purposes of showmanship, I think that'll be a good thing. We have a piece in this story where, after several hours, the network has come up with a logo and a theme, you know, America Under Siege. I think that's obscene, I really do. And yet, I'm afraid people won't even notice that because they're so used to the kind of packaging and formatting that television news does with even the worst possible events.
I was always uneasy with the ABC coverage of the hostage crisis. I thought it had a high degree of hype. I was very uneasy with that little slogan, America held hostage day 278. I mean, I must assure you that Roone Arledge was not held hostage in that period. He was getting up in the ratings every day and having a wonderful time. And I think there's an instinct often in situations like this where the tabloid in their veins really shows.
Veteran journalists for years have been worried about the kind of live coverage of terrorists depicted in Special Bulletin. They're trying to figure out what's the most responsible way for TV to cover these events, and are trying to answer critics who say that TV shouldn't cover any terrorist activity at all.
I don't know that you always go live and sort of hype up your voice and have bulletin after bulletin, where you, in effect, use the event, because it's a rare event that you know how to cover, as a means of getting listeners.
We are used by politicians, we're used by the sports establishment, we're used by advertisers, and we're also used, unfortunately, by some criminal elements. But that is part of the price we pay for a free press.
I think it would be absolutely irresponsible of us to not cover, which doesn't mean that we shouldn't cover with a certain sense of taste and decorum and sense of responsibility about what we're doing. But I think we've got to cover it, no matter what the risks may be.
Whether Special Bulletin looks real enough to convince the public that anti-nuclear terrorists are really threatening to blow up Charleston remains to be seen. But the very real problem of how to cover events depicted in Special Bulletin continues to be debated in newsrooms across the country. And whatever television newsmen decide, you can be sure that the images they put out from their studios will immediately fill the homes of 100 million Americans, and that most of those Americans will believe whatever they see and hear, and act accordingly.
Our spotlight today is on television, particularly those people who abuse it, known as videoholics. Here to introduce his special report is Scott Osborne.
Mary, it's no secret we are a nation of addicts. We smoke too much, drink too much, eat too much. And now the experts are telling us we watch too much television. It seems we're becoming a nation of videoholics. In most of our homes, one or more television sets are turned on for 7 hours a day. Television addiction is becoming a national epidemic.
We're a nation of TV addicts. From the highest to the lowest, everyone, to a certain degree in the United States, is addicted to TV. Like other addictions that we have, we sometimes don't recognize it. People are addicted to alcohol, they're addicted to cigarettes, they're addicted to coffee. If they don't have their regular dose every day or every week, they feel uncomfortable, they develop symptoms, they have what we call in medicine withdrawal reactions.
When you're a videoholic, television becomes the most important thing in the house. It is your window on the world. Living in the suburbs, it was the person I depended on for my entertainment, for my information, for my friendship. And it was also the play group for the children. It was the conversation piece for my husband and I at dinner. It was just the thing that we bounced off of constantly. It was a security blanket.
Most Americans will watch TV anywhere they can find one.
You are right. Now there are two.
We picked up a few suspects.
In the northern part of the state as well.
I watch television about 8 to 10 hours a day.
At last count, I had 23 televisions in our house. I love television.
I watch television because it's a friend. I enjoy it when I go home. It helps me relax.
A lot of times on the weekends I will get up in the morning and I start off watching television, make a pot of coffee, and get comfortable in my chair and watch the Saturday morning cartoons. And then something else comes on, and then something else comes on, and I suddenly find that the entire day is gone and I haven't done anything.
I'd wake up at 4, 5, 6 in the morning and the snow would be on the television, and not realizing that I was really hooked on television. I needed it and wanted it.
It starts with Good Morning America or the morning news on CBS, and that carries me through to the soap operas, you know. And then when I get into my soaps, nobody bothers me from 11:30 till 3.
I like to go back to my room at 12 o'clock at night and turn on some ridiculous old gangster picture because I like the dialogue. For me, the dialogue I can use in my act. Hello, sweetheart, sure, baby, why not? I have to be a chump to do that, I tell you. You know, I love those. I love those. I could watch, and I always feel good and happy after those.
It's an easy habit to get into. It's like smoking cigarettes or anything else. It's habit forming, and habits are very difficult to break.
Sort of like a video narcotic. I can escape and get away from the things that I don't want to face right at the moment.
Television is almost like being drugged to a certain degree. It's so easy to get mesmerized by that screen and the movement.
Television puts the brainwaves in the alpha state. That is the sleep state. That's why we talk about the zombie or the boob tube. The medium gives us color and action and light and music and plot themes. It gives it all to us so we don't have to make it up ourselves.
They watch to escape. They watch for the same reasons that other people drink. TV is the Valium of the masses.
The experts say no addiction is good for you. But all of us are addicted to something, and some addictions are worse than others. As addictions go, watching TV doesn't seem too bad. But any addiction is potentially dangerous to your mental and physical health, and so is TV addiction. Whether it's drugs or alcohol or cigarettes or food or coffee or just watching too much TV, you pick your addiction and you take your chances. Recently, a 13-year-old boy in Northern California killed himself when his father took away his TV set. Just before pulling the trigger to his father's .38 caliber gun, the young boy wrote, "In my heart, I will take my TV with me. I love you." We'll see just how TV addiction affects our kids, and we'll show you how to break the TV habit when part 2 of our special report continues this weekend on Entertainment This Week.
More and more children are watching more and more television, and that could mean big trouble in the years ahead. Here to introduce part 2 of his special report on videoholics is Scott Osborne. Scott?
Thanks, Steve. If your children aren't sleeping or going to school, chances are they're watching TV. By the time kids have reached kindergarten, they've already seen between 3,000 and 5,000 hours of television. And television becomes very important to them. One national survey asked kids which they would keep if forced to choose between their television sets and their fathers. More than half of the youngsters chose television.
Boys and girls, how many of you watch a lot of TV every day?
The fact that children are watching 28 hours a week of television on average means that it's an addiction to TV. 4 hours a day is too much time in front of any kind of television. And the problem is not only what they're learning from the TV they're looking at, but what they're not doing while they're watching television. They're not kicking stones, they're not reading, they're not using their own imagination. They're using somebody else's imagination to see how the world works.
Of course children love to watch TV. It's easier to watch TV. It's hard to read a book. It's hard to think of a game. It's complex to get along with your neighbor and get in a fight and get in an argument and make friends or make love or whatever. Those things are hard. It's much easier just to float with the TV.
Thursday, Friday, happiness. Saturday, what a day. Good night with you.
Until I was about 6, I wouldn't hear anybody. I just hear the TV. And I just listen to the TV and I just put all my thoughts into the television. And I wouldn't listen to anything else.
I like watching TV more than playing outside.
And when there's nothing to do, I just turn on the TV.
And then after dinner, I would watch TV again until 1.
Sometimes I watch TV because when I'm alone, I get kind of scared being by myself. So it just kind of makes me feel like there's someone with me.
I find that if the children are allowed to watch it, they will. It's a way of wasting time. It's a way of making time go by.
I think children who are weaned on television, this generation now, are children who are going to want things immediately and quickly. And they're going to want instant solutions to problems, instant happy marriages. They tend to be more violent, these children, because they've seen that that's how you solve a lot of problems on television. They will be imitators of television and clones of Hollywood characters.
They're exposed to all the common values of the television. What are those values? White people are better than black people. Young people are better than old people. Men are better than women. And constantly they're bombarded with this. They have no capacity to see that this is what the purveyors of television are selling to the American public. They can't evaluate this. They begin to think that this is real, and they grow up and become parents of the next generation. This is the TV generation that we're raising.
Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. I never thought I could feel so free.
If you want to stop watching too much television, if you want to stop your kids from watching too much television, there is something you can do, but it isn't easy.
To break the television habit, you have to realize that you have a habit. Week 1, watch as much as you want, but clock the hours. Week 2, watch, but critically. Ask yourself, why am I watching? For entertainment, for information, just because I'm bored. Week 3, put all the TV sets away except 1 or 2, and don't watch in the morning, don't watch during dinner, and maybe even pick a night or 2 during the week when you don't watch television. And week 4, go clean, cold turkey. Don't watch for the whole week, no television, to see if you actually have the inner resources to turn to other things.
Most kids will spend twice as much time in front of their TV sets as they do in the classroom. It's tough for kids to stop watching TV. After all, they're just copying mom and dad's addiction. And since kids, like adults, will watch TV no matter who tells them not to, the logical answer is to get them to watch programs that give them a realistic picture of the world in which they live. Right now, most of what kids are watching is programming preoccupied with adult fantasies. The real question is what kind of adults our kids will become if their concept of the world is one filled with motorcycle chases, crashing cars, and love boats. TV addiction hurts kids most of all. Children who watch TV instead of playing and reading and just being with people are missing what generations before them valued most of all. If you're not worried about TV swallowing up your kids, maybe you should be.
Our spotlight today is on a most important subject to anyone involved in entertainment, the National Enquirer. It's a publication that stops at nothing in its pursuit of stories about Hollywood stars. So today we kick off a 4-part exclusive look at the National Enquirer and its love-hate relationship with Hollywood. In part 1, Scott Osborne will take us into that rarely seen inner sanctum of the Enquirer itself for an inside look at the men who run it. Scott?
Thanks, Ron. Some called them the scandal sheets, yellow rags, a disgrace to journalism. But millions of Americans buy them every week. They're the tabloids. You see them in every supermarket and newsstand in the country. There's the Star, which built a circulation of 4 million from scratch in less than 10 years. There's the Globe and the National Examiner, which more than doubled their combined circulation since 1979 to 3 million. But leading the pack, as it has for the past 2 decades, is the National Enquirer.
Why did Harrison Ford stop playing solo and secretly wed? E.T.'s writer, inquiring minds want to know.
I want to know.
More than 5 million people buy the Enquirer every week. More than 20 million read each issue.
Like me.
After TV Guide, the National Enquirer is the best-selling publication in America today. The Enquirer is slugging it out in the supermarkets for your dollars, with stories about the intimate secrets and private lives of celebrities. The National Enquirer keeps its finger on the Hollywood pulse from 3,000 miles away in a small, quiet town in South Florida called Lantana. Why Lantana? Because this man, publisher Generoso Pope Jr., the boss, wanted to live in Lantana, and he wanted his Enquirer near him.
If the lead is accurate and it clears research, let's change the head.
Pope, the son of Italian immigrants, graduated from MIT, worked for the CIA, and then in 1952 bought a struggling New York newspaper. And with headlines like these, built up circulation to 1 million. But Pope realized there was a limit to the gore market. So in 1968, he eliminated all the gore and substituted stories about celebrities. And to get those stories, the Enquirer will do just about anything at all.
People wonder how we get exclusives. I think one way we get them is through enterprise and persistence. The world press was interested when Liz Taylor and Richard Burton got together in London last year. We had 20 reporters on the scene. We covered every aspect of it, as did everybody else. But we followed Burton to Venice. We sent an attractive female reporter who stayed at the hotel, and she met him at the bar and spent a lot of hours with him and got a very exclusive interview with him in which he admitted, which was the question of the day, that he had made love to Liz Taylor in London. And it was Enterprise that got her the interview.
When Frank Sinatra took a plane load of friends to the Holy Land on a chartered flight, I doubt he still realizes that the young man who came up and threw his arm around him and had his picture taken with Frank on the flight was an Enquirer reporter. That man was with him for 10 days without Frank even knowing he worked for us. When Robert Wagner put his house up for sale, the first prospective buyer who went through that house was an Enquirer reporter. And we got a heck of a story out of it.
We sometimes spend tens of thousands on a story. Probably in Princess Grace, it's a guess between 100 and 150,000 we spent on that one story or series of stories.
The one story I wanted was from the person that found the car and saw it go over the cliff. And I wanted him locked up exclusively for us. We were the first to get to him. Actually, we paid him $15,000 for the exclusive. And then we had to spend the next 2 weeks keeping the rest of the press away from him. James Garner had left his wife, and we were very interested in who he was going to be with. James Garner is an excellent car driver, and we were following him. He knew it, and it was just like a scene out of Rockford Files. He cut across a gas station, he went up a one-way street, and he lost us very effectively. We don't always get our man.
They had people tailing me 24 hours a day. Of course, I knew who they were. I could lose them whenever I wanted to. They're not too bright.
The Enquirer brand of journalism goes back to the kind of early American newspapers historians call the sensational, yellow, tabloid press. It's the kind of journalism where you do anything to get the story. Lie, cheat, whatever it takes. Some National Enquirer alumni refer to it as guerrilla journalism.
You have to be a guerrilla in this town. I mean, you have to be someone who swoops down from the hills, comes down in some form of disguise, attacks, gets the story, and retreats.
Combat tactics may be journalistically justifiable in life and death matters, but the Enquirer is reporting gossip, not world events. Most newsmen believe it is unethical to sneak about misrepresenting who you are and what you do, to eavesdrop as professional peeping toms, to pilfer the innermost secrets of the stars. And journalists sympathize with the stars who despise the National Enquirer's brand of journalism.
The public never encounters the very sleazy, ratty people that work for it. They are a kind of human vermin crawling around like roaches. They're nocturnal. You know, put the lights on and they all run for holes.
They make up complete fabrications. It's usually from 80 to 100% untrue.
I mean, like the National Enquirer is absolutely just lying.
So many of the stars refuse to even talk to the Enquirer. Scott, where do they get the information?
Well, the National Enquirer has established a network of very well-paid informers to pry into the deepest and darkest secrets of the stars, and that's the subject of our report tomorrow.
And between now and Thursday, we'll learn a lot more about the National Enquirer and the people it affects. Leading off our stories on the people of show business, another look at the National Enquirer. Most celebrities refuse to talk to the newspaper, but that doesn't stop the tabloid from writing about them. Today we bring you part 2 of our exclusive series, and Scott Osborne is here to tell us just how they get all their hot tips. Scott?
Thanks, Mary. For years, Hollywood agents have fed the National Enquirer stories, even dirt about their clients, to get the free publicity, and that still happens today. Some stars regularly use the Enquirer to make sure the paper's 5 million readers know who they are and care about what they do. But more and more stars do not want the Enquirer prying into their private lives, so they and their public relations people refuse to talk to the Enquirer. But the Enquirer never takes no for an answer. If the star refuses to talk to the Enquirer, there are others who will. Bartenders, hairdressers, secretaries, anybody who has the chance to eavesdrop on a celebrity. One way or another, the Enquirer will get that story.
The stars who complain about us not checking with them are stars who won't talk to us when we try and call them. They're armed with public relations people whose only job is to fend off all inquiries, to refuse answers to questions, to keep their stars' names out of the paper.
Maybe they don't want to talk to me. Maybe that particular person doesn't want to talk to the Enquirer. That doesn't stop us. Remember, they're still a public person. They're still fair game. Now, I will give them the opportunity to talk to me directly. If they say no, I'm not going to drop that. It may take us a little longer. We'll get what we want.
If a star won't talk to us about a romance, we would have to have at least 2 independent sources telling us about that romance, using the word romance or love.
For example, the maitre d' in a restaurant sees 2 people together, you know, a celebrity and a friend, and there may not be any romance, but if you can get enough people to say, yes, they sat in a restaurant with lights in their eyes throughout the entire meal, they couldn't take their eyes off each other, there was love in their eyes, if you can get people to tell you this, then you have a romance, even if the celebrities say, there's no romance.
The sources in Hollywood are as many as there are people. It might be a bartender who saw someone, it might be an unhappy wife, it might be a personal secretary, it might be a businessman, it might be an agent. Sources are people who hear stories.
I met my wife in Nashville, and I was commuting on weekends to see her, and we were really in love. And every time I left to come back to LA, it was really kind of heartbreaking. And on the plane back, a woman sat next to me, and I told her my whole story, you know, how much in love I was with this girl, and I knew this was the girl to live my life with. And turned out the lady was from the Enquirer. Went shopping one day, and there it was. Boom!
A celebrity talks to people. He talks to friends. He talks to bartenders. He talks to a hairdresser. He talks to salespeople. And it's surprising the intimate things that they say to them.
They constantly tried to buy people in the studios. Makeup people, hairdressers, publicity people, for sleazy stories, tips, things of that kind.
We get hundreds and hundreds of stories in here, people saying this about a celebrity, that a celebrity, and we check it out, and they're not true. But the one story in 100 that is true, we print.
The Enquirer had a wonderful story on us that we were breaking up and that I can't stand my husband and I hate this marriage.
Which is totally ridiculous.
I mean, it had us screaming obscenities to each other in a restaurant that neither of us have ever been in. So it's kind of ridiculous. I don't know where they get their sources.
Sometimes you feel like running around to everybody's door, whoever bought the magazine, and said, it's not true, don't believe it.
We finally convinced his mom not to buy it anymore.
My mom's bought it for years.
She called us up after.
And she knows how happy we are.
Edward, now I know. I will never buy the magazine again.
Valerie Bertinelli's story is totally fabricated. I've checked personally on sources, friends in Le Dome who worked there in the restaurant she allegedly had this fight in, and no one's ever even seen her in the place, let alone ever being able to recall her in a brawl with her husband.
Enquirer sources have to stay anonymous to be effective. One Enquirer tipster who agreed to talk to us said we would have to protect his identity.
There are probably hundreds of people in the city of Los Angeles who have performed similar tasks to mine. You have a lot of people who feel they were slighted by Hollywood. A makeup artist who didn't get as much work as she thought she should have. They have people in most of the major restaurants. They have them on every studio lot, inside most production companies. They have the head of a security department in Beverly Hills who's on the payroll of the National Enquirer. There are literally major executives at some of the networks. It's absolutely incredible. They are everywhere. They can find anything out.
There's a snitch on Happy Days. We never found out who, but stories would get out. But the thing is, they weren't real, true stories. There would be an incident that was nothing, and they would make up this fantasy and print it. And, you know, we never did find out who.
Scott, you were on the set of Happy Days. Were you able to find out who the snitch was?
No, we didn't find out for sure who the snitch on that set was, but I can tell you this. We do know how much he probably gets paid, and you'll find out tomorrow on part 3 of our series.
Our People section today is all about that best-selling tabloid, the National Enquirer, and the tipsters who keep it supplied with stories. Here once again with part 3 of our exclusive series on the Enquirer is Scott Osborne to tell us just how much those sources make.
Thanks, Mary. The National Enquirer believes in checkbook journalism. It's proud of the fact that it pays top dollar for interviews and information. Now, most news organizations hate checkbook journalism. They believe that paying money for information destroys the credibility of that information, that once a source is paid, that source becomes suspect. The Enquirer disagrees. It resorts to a vast network of highly paid informers to find out who's doing what to whom in Hollywood. And the price tag for such information comes high.
You can spend $20,000 on a story easily. When you take into account reporting time, travel expenses, hotel expenses, we've had reporters simply follow celebrities around for as long as a month. It's known that you get paid for the story ideas. That's probably why we get most of the stories.
In one word, the reason people give me items or give me little tidbits of information is money. It is all on the books, straightforward, above board. Nobody goes around handing people $100 bills. I have people that are real hustlers, that know their business. This is their living. This is their livelihood. I have one, I won't mention the name, of course, but that person has earned as much as $60,000, $70,000 in 1 year.
If you hustle, you can make $1,000 a week easily, plus expenses. I never made less than $1,000 a week when I worked for them.
Sources are paid well, and so are reporters and editors. And for those large paychecks, publisher Pope expects results. The Enquirer not only wants the story it imagines exists, it also wants the story on its own terms. And its own terms include what the Enquirer staff calls money quotes. Quotes that will sell newspapers. Quotes that are often created by reporters for the people they are interviewing.
The Enquirer feels it's perfectly legitimate to take the entire quote that was concocted by the reporter and put it in the mouth of the person who is speaking and say, is that correct, or may I attribute that to you?
I must say that the psychics get an awful lot of help from the reporters. I know when I used to be in charge of the predictions, I'd have my staff sit around this table here and we'd get a few cases of beer. And after a few cases of beer, the predictions really started coming in strongly. And if the psychics agreed with them, we'd get them in the paper, and they were much more readable than the predictions that the psychics would make, I might say. I had some very psychic reporters.
The Enquirer puts enormous pressure on both reporters and sources to come up with the story that editors hope exists, to get the untold story first, and to get it as fast as possible.
The pressure at the Enquirer comes from the top. It's designed as a pressure pot type place. First you stretch the idea so you can interest the boss in the idea. He pressures the editor beneath him, and that editor would pressure the article editor, and the article editor pressures the reporter, and it goes on down the line. There's this constant pressure that sometimes forces you to stretch stories.
That kind of pressure resulted in one novice Enquirer reporter resorting to threats to get an interview with Michael Landon.
This fool writes me a letter where he just blackmails me. Says they're going to write all this trash about me unless I give him an interview. And if so, they're going to make me look like the king of the world. Well, what kind of press is that? Come on.
Boss Pope immediately fired the reporter. Pope moves quickly when burned. He hired Ruth Annan, a 16-year veteran of Time magazine, to set up a research department in 1976 after he was embarrassed by a story that claimed Walter Cronkite believed in UFOs.
We're the watchdog of the operation, you might say. We police the copy. We verify the quotes that are in stories, the background information. We're the reason the story's killed. We all know we're not here to win a popularity contest. We have a job to do, and we do it.
The research department's shortcoming is they do not know what is omitted from a story. They do not know that you may have called 97 people who told you, no, it's not true, because all they see in front of them is a story quoting 3 people who tell you it is true.
They can't stop a waitress from telling you on tape, you know, for $50 that she saw star A and star B out together.
They check innuendos. They get corroborating innuendos. And if 2 or 3 people say that something happened, if Lee Majors passed Farrah Fawcett in a hallway and smiled, and someone saw it, they'd call 3 other people up and ask them if Lee and Farrah were both on the same lot that day, and if indeed they did smile at each other. And those 3 people would say, yes, they did smile at each other, and the next thing you know, Lee and Farrah are getting back together, according to the National Enquirer.
The fact that the stars are upset, I'll grant, but I feel the reason they're upset is that they would rather not have people discovering what we're discovering about their lives. But we always try to check with the star. In many cases, they won't talk to us. All they have to do is talk to us, and we'll run their side of the story, and we've done it in many instances.
Who's going to give the Enquirer an interview? Nobody. They got to make it up from other interviews. I don't read the trash, so I just don't give them the time of day. They don't exist as far as I'm concerned.
Well, Scott, obviously a lot of stars are very upset by all this.
Some of them certainly are, Ron, and tomorrow we'll find out just how the stars are fighting back against what they see as the Enquirer's invasion of their privacy and how the Enquirer treats anybody who crosses it.
First, though, Scott Osborne is here to tell us just why most celebrities really hate the Enquirer.
Thanks, Mary. Despite the recent publicity that the National Enquirer goes after celebrities to build circulation, 90% of the stories about stars in the Enquirer are pure, unmitigated fluff. Positive, happy stories that any star's publicity agent would kill for. And the bulk of those stories are planted by stars, their agents, or public relations people. They know the value of having more than 20 million people read all about them.
The vast majority of our stories on celebrities are really not downbeat stories. Most of them are very nice, upbeat, gentle stories. But you can run 10 really nice stories about someone and then run one story that they're really not desperately happy with. They forget about the 10 that were very nice, and they only remember the one that, that wasn't very nice.
Nobody, I suppose, likes to read about their marriage breaking up in print, but they are celebrities and they're public figures, and they live by the fact that they are celebrities, so we print it.
We ran a story that Johnny Carson's marriage was in trouble. We had used 12, 15 sources on it, and had checked for weeks people very close to Carson. And we knew time, date, and detail, and we ran the story. And he got furious at it, and stood up on national TV before millions of people on his own show, waved the paper around with my byline on it, totally untrue, practically called me the scum of the earth and everything else. And of course now he's filed for divorce, but I don't see him standing up and waving the divorce papers and saying, well, I guess the Enquirer was right.
After Johnny Carson embarrassed the National Enquirer on his show, a number of us were told by the editors that if we could get anything on Johnny Carson, if we could catch him with another woman, if we could find out that he had moved out of his house, if we could get evidence that he had fought with his wife in public, that we would be paid very handsomely and be entitled to a bonus for that information.
What is a star? Why is a star a star? What made that person a star? The people who go out and pay money to see them in a film, or the people who tune into their show every week? Okay? They are fair game. If you want to make $1 million or $2 million a year as a star, I'm here to tell you it's a package deal. Not everybody comes and pats you on the back. If you go out and make a fool of yourself in public, no one told you to do that, and we're going to hit on you.
I don't think that people should pry desperately into people's private lives, but a great many people do flaunt their private lives, and if they do, then I guess they're fair game.
There is no privacy, but you do have a right to the truth, and if they're going to talk about you, they owe it to you to say it accurately and not make you out to be something that you're not.
The stars have tried to cripple the National Enquirer with lawsuits. In 1981, a Los Angeles jury awarded Carol Burnett a whopping $1.6 million in damages in her libel suit against the Enquirer. A judge later cut that in half, and the case is on appeal. Still in the wings are about $100 million in libel suits brought by other Hollywood figures, including Tom Selleck, Ed McMahon, and Agent Marty Engels and his wife Shirley Jones. Enquirer editors and reporters say they're getting a bum rap.
We protect celebrities to a fantastic degree, considering what we know about them.
There are certain types of celebrity stories that we won't touch. We will not touch anything of a sexual nature, no sex stories.
The National Enquirer does not depict graphic sexual activities, but it does fill its pages with stories about the private passions of practically every star in Hollywood.
We will not go after any type of sordid story involving celebrities' children.
Not altogether true. The Enquirer leaves the kids alone until they reach puberty, then considers them fair game.
We will not touch a homosexual story involving celebrities unless it's something that's broken in the national press. And if we do anything on it, then we very much water it down.
But when the story does break, the Enquirer eagerly splashes it across the cover, and all the intimate details are featured inside.
We want people to be able to take it home and not be afraid if their children read it.
Some parents would disagree, especially when the Enquirer prints photographs of the stars lying in their coffins. There are some who believe that the National Enquirer is a disgrace to American journalism. There are some who believe that Hollywood and the Enquirer deserve each other. If one didn't exist, the other one would have to invent it. And there are some who believe that the Enquirer garishly reflects the lust for gossip that is buried deep inside all of us. It's that deep-seated need to know everybody's business that makes it impossible not to sneak a glance at the Enquirer while waiting in line at the supermarket. Still, the Enquirer's hardline critics are everywhere. They include almost everyone who doesn't read the weekly tabloid, the celebrities and their publicity agents who fight a continuing battle with the Enquirer, and the legions of journalists and social critics around the country who frown at the Enquirer's brand of journalism. But the Enquirer doesn't care about any of them.
We're being judged on what we run every week, not by celebrities, not by newspapers, not by television, but by the people who buy us. It's very, very simple. If they don't like what we do, if we do things that are wrong, they just don't buy the Enquirer.
The next time you buy the National Enquirer, remember how it gets its stories on celebrities. Remember what we've shown you for the past 4 days, how its reporters and sources misrepresent themselves, how they lie, offer bribes, eavesdrop, do whatever it takes to get those stories. And remember how you've heard Enquirer editors point proudly to those activities. You see, the Enquirer claims you want it that way, or you wouldn't buy the tabloid. And as long as 20 million of you read it every week, week after week, the Enquirer will continue to do business as usual.